Hello and welcome, dear viewer, to my channel. Today in our video, I will tell you what stories people have sent me in the mail. My 25F boyfriend, 26M, is feeling guilt over his ex-fiancée. My boyfriend of almost a year let me know he was feeling guilt over an ex-relationship that ended 3 years ago. Him and his ex were together for over a year, when distance started happening between the two due to busy schedules. During that time, he had what he considered emotionally cheating that his ex found out about. She ended the engagement with him and said they may revisit the topic of their relationship after having some space, but he never talked to her. Now, 3 years after it ended, he told me he is having some guilt and shame regarding his past actions and wants to send her a letter. He said he is not looking for rekindling the relationship or having a conversation with her, but wants to get everything off his chest. That he has had some mixed feeling over the situation and knows it ended for a reason, but that all of this has weighed heavy on his mind recently and hasn't allowed him to fully commit to anyone, including myself. I am confused as how to feel, because if he was truly over his ex, I don't see the reason to reach out if he isn't wanting to talk to her. I understand him wanting to get it off his chest and move forward from the situation for his own sake, but this just seems like an excuse to talk to her, and I don't want to be hurt in the process. He told me all of this because he started writing the letter and felt guilty because he is in a relationship with me and felt it was inappropriate, even though at the time he wasn't sure if he would send it or not. I really don't know how to address this with him moving forward because he gave me some time to process it all, and don't understand why he needs go reach out. This is my first Reddit post, so please forgive me if I explained anything wrong. Also, I'm not so sure if this counts as letters to an ex. What should I do? I, 19F, want my ex-situationship, 20M, back. I, 19F, recently ended things with my situationship, 20M, and I'm scared that I made a mistake. We'd been seeing each other casually for over a year, with no initial expectation of future commitment, as we had both just come out of toxic long-term relationships, and were both solely looking for something fun. However, over time, our relationship became closer and more romantic, as opposed to solely sexual in nature. He became one of my closest friends, and someone I was extremely comfortable with. We hung out multiple times a week. I met all of his friends. We attended all formals together. I even met his parents and siblings. We had a 3-month-long university break over the Christmas period, during which he moved back home, so I didn't see him at all. However, we FaceTimed for several hours most days, and he talked constantly about how excited he was to see me again, about all of the dates he was going to take me on, about the prospect of meeting his extended family, and even about me going to visit him for a couple of weeks in the country where he was living over the break, an idea which didn't come to fruition because I didn't have the money for it. I thought, from what he was saying and how proactive he was in keeping in constant contact, that we were headed for a proper relationship. He even said that's what he wanted with me, as soon as we saw each other in person again. I was open to this, as by this point I was over my ex and the trauma of my past relationship, and ready to move on with someone I knew I cared deeply about and liked a lot. When the break ended, I was very excited to see him. However, as soon as we saw each other in person, he didn't at all bring the energy that I thought he would. We still saw each other, but only once or twice a week, and there was minimal romantic effort on his part. He didn't plan any of the dates that he said he would take me on, and he didn't even put any effort into doing anything with me that didn't involve just hanging out in his room. When I talked to him about this lack of effort, he was apologetic, and said that it was because coming back to university had been a harsh reality hit for him, as he had discovered he was on the verge of failing his degree and thus being kicked out of his accommodation, and so had decided to prioritize uni this year. Although I was disappointed that that meant he wouldn't be able to spend as much time with me as I had imagined, I completely understood and respected that. However, I then made my possibly silly mistake. After a couple more weeks of his absent behavior, I got upset at him one night, and told him that I thought the issue was less to do with uni and more to do with him actually not wanting to see me anymore, because he made the time to play video games for a couple of hours with his friends each day, but not to see me for more than an hour or so each week, despite how committed and invested in me he seemed over the holidays. This started a conversation that resulted in him saying that although he really didn't want us to end things, he couldn't put in the effort that I wanted from him, at least at this stage of the year. But he also couldn't guarantee more effort later on, as his uni workload would only increase. He also said that he thinks he wants different things, I mentioned the possibility of us working towards a committed relationship later in the year, and he said that although he really liked me, the idea of being in a relationship with anybody at this stage of his life was terrifying to him because he didn't want to endure another heartbreak. Due to this conversation, we ended up breaking up because I didn't feel satisfied with the idea of never knowing whether or not he would put more effort in or want a relationship, and because of all the mixed messages he had put out between the break and now. He didn't want to end things, but respected that I was not going to be content with things as they were, and we promised to still be friends. Since then, I have found myself alternating between really regretting the decision to end things, as I thought that the reasons why we ended were silly in the scheme of our relationship, and that the decision had been made too hastily, and not ever wanting to see him again, even as friends. Today I realized that I was never going to actually have a chance at moving on from him and from this situation if we were still talking every day and being friends from the get-go, so I arranged to see him. I told him that I was going to go no contact with him for the foreseeable future, which he was a bit upset about, but respected. The issue is, all of this happened within the span of 3 weeks. We've gone from having an extremely close and affectionate friendship, if not relationship, to me not even talking to him anymore, because of how final this breakup feels. I don't actually want to lose him from my life, but at this point I can't picture just being friends with him, even in a couple of months' time. I want some sort of relationship with him, even if it remains non-committal. How do I salvage this? 23 NB, and we have been together for 3 years. Please advice. Hey, I am 23 YRZO, technically a Gen Z, and my partner is a millennial. We are both so different. I am the fun, outgoing one who is up to date, especially in things related to my age. My partner, well, we come from different backgrounds. I was the youngest kid, and my family always could afford what I wanted because we could, and I was a good kid. My partner comes from a strict family who lives in a village and couldn't afford much, so he couldn't get what he wants because his parents said no. I work, I pay the bills on time, and never request money from him. The house is on my name, but we share stuff. And we furnished the whole house and paid for it. So we don't have any new monthly payments other than rent and electricity, which we can afford each month. Now, before we moved to this house, he said we can get a small dog. I am a hardcore animal lover, and I would love a companion in the house to be our kid. Now, after we moved, he keeps snapping at me whenever I mention it, saying, "You can't force me into taking care of a lil dog. I can't even take care of myself or feed myself. I won't pay, I don't want to spend, or I won't walk or feed the dog. Don't put responsibility on me." Which I understood. He doesn't want to take any responsibility or feel heavy. But this makes me feel that the same dialogue will happen when we want to adopt kids. I want to have a family and love having kids. But he also keeps saying, "I am afraid, I am not ready." So I ended up getting a hamster, and I got her a big home with toys and stuff, and whenever we go, he shares the story of me getting the hamster and making fun of me in front of people and his relatives. Same thing happened this week. A few days back, he was like, "What do you think of getting a PS5? I said, "Why not?" Today I saw an offer and told him I will buy it. He completely snapped and said I won't pay anything, and got mad because I wanted to get a PS5, calling me irresponsible. And I felt hurt because he always considers me a child if I want to get a PS5, board games, or a drawing tablet, since I am a designer and artist, saying I waste my money. Which is my money, and besides I save, so it is not that I spend from my savings or rent money. I'm starting to believe that we are not compatible and that I can't take to live with a person like this. We have been together for 3 years, and the financial issues didn't show at first. I even don't feel attracted to him anymore and can't stand kissing. I am a vegetarian, and he also mocks that, including my compassion to animals and how sentimental I am. He doesn't care if he sees a cat dying on the street and won't help. This pisses me off. Write in the comments what you think about these stories. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video if you like it. Also put a bell so you don't miss new videos. See you soon.